Hello and welcome to this fortnight's blog from Nico Property. Today we're going to talk about Melbourne and why Nico Property over the last sort of 4 or 5 years has really pushed Melbourne as the most city that's probably likeliest to grow the fastest in Australia. And while Sydney's really been performing really well the last 4 or 5 years, we believe that probably over the next 15, 20 years, Melbourne will overtake Sydney in terms of percentage of growth and certainly catch up to Sydney in terms of prices, but also in terms of population, which we know is moving extremely fast and much faster than any other state in Australia. So what's in store for Melbourne this year? Well, much the same as last year, we think. We think that Melbourne will have double-digit growth or very close to this year. And the reason for that is two main reasons. And we can see that, although they're not drivers of the marketplace, we can see two figures that really point to what's happening in Melbourne at the moment. And for all the talk of supply, which if you read our blogs and look at our information aids, we don't buy into, the vacancy rate in Melbourne is just 1.7%. How can there be an oversupply of apartments if only 1.7% of all properties are vacant at any one given time? The second thing that we look at is clearance rates, and right now in Melbourne, clearance rates have been over 80% for the year, in the high 70s last year. And what that tells us is a bit of a lack of supply in Melbourne compared to the population growth, and of course that underpins property prices moving forward. Now, whereabouts in Melbourne do we think is going to perform well? We know that over the last few years, the inner suburban, southeastern suburbs have really taken the majority of the growth in Melbourne. And what that tells us is probably the inner north and inner west, there's going to be some opportunities, and certainly the middle ring southeastern suburbs as well, where the ripple effect will come into play, where people can't afford to live in the inner suburban southeastern suburbs and will move to that middle ring type locations. The thing about the demographics in Melbourne now, and in fact in all of Australia, is that home buyers now, more than ever, are more willing to trade space for place. And what that means is that the location is the first thing that they look at when they're trying to find a place to live, and the size of the dwelling or the type of dwelling second. And what that tells us is that good quality, very high quality, larger apartments and townhouse living in high growth areas will do really well moving forward, especially in Melbourne and Sydney, where the population growth is increasing rapidly, congestion is higher in the roads, and people want to live in lifestyle locations. Just to finish off on Melbourne, there's one thing that's happening in Melbourne now that's going to change your investment capabilities and how well your investment's going to perform pretty significantly. We've talked about this and touched on it recently, but as of July 1 this year, for any contracts entered into for new property after July 1, the discount, the stamp duty discount, won't be available anymore in Victoria, so it's expiring as of 1st of July. And that is a big discount on a $500,000 property. Let's say an apartment at $500,000. If you buy it off the plan now, you'll say compared to July 1 this year, so 3 months time, if you have that contract signed now or July 1, that's about a $20,000 difference on a $500,000 property. So you'll pay $20,000 less stamp duty if you buy now than if you buy in 3 months. Is that a reason to buy in Melbourne? Well, if you're going to buy in Melbourne anyway, then I'd be buying in the next 3 months, that's for sure. I wouldn't let it make your investment decision for you, but certainly if you're going to be doing it anyway, then it's certainly something to be looking at in the next 3 months before that expires. So I encourage you all to give your relationship manager at Nico Property a call if you've got any questions. Otherwise, like I said, Melbourne's a place to be at the moment and probably moving forward as well. And I'll leave you with an awesome Chinese proverb that I finish up most of my presentations with. And that is that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. For those of you who are thinking, when's the best time to invest in property? Well, it was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And the moral of that story is don't try and time the market. Buy good property when you can afford it and hold. Thanks very much. Speak to you soon.